This is the Beyond Data Management podcast powered by HS GovTech. Now here's your host, Cameron Garrison.
Welcome back. Week 2 of Season 2, Beyond Data Management podcast. Welcome in, EH Nation. And we have a lot of really amazing stuff coming up for you in Season 2. We actually are working on finalizing now an episode with a world-renowned person on the topic on bed bugs. And then also a story that's just kind of gotten swept off the radar. Is, in fall of 2024, Helene hit the North Carolina mountains. And what is not gotten talked about a lot is the huge amount of horrible environmental health strain that came on, especially with wells and septic. So very soon, keep an eye out. We're going to do Helene a year and change later. And I think it'll blow your mind, some of the challenges that they've had to endure already and what they're still enduring after that major catastrophe. So a lot coming up in season number 2 here. Today, we are emptying out a backlog that we had during the break between seasons. We had a ton of questions and comments come in. And so we're going to do the Ask the Professional, Ask the Inspector, the EH expert. And joining us today in the expert seat to answer your questions on hot topics of the day is Melissa Rogerson, coming to us from Colorado, HS GovTech's own. She had a distinguished career at the El Paso County Environmental Health Department there in Colorado, and now works with departments all across the country. Melissa, welcome back. It's been months. I think going back to last summer or early fall since you've been on. Welcome. How you been?
Doing good. I'm happy to be back. It's always fun being here.
It is. It's a blast. I know you're busy, so really appreciate you making the time to join us here today. So we're going to let the audience drive some of our discussion points because a lot of hot button topics get asked about, and we'll let you opine on them all. So we'll get right here to it. The first one is from iKitty. 91, iKitty 91. This one made me laugh. You were just here, just in capitals. If I have to hear one more grown adult food operator say this to me in the whiniest passive-aggressive tone, I'm going to flip. Does anyone get this constantly the moment they walk into a food establishment? WTF. So, Melissa, a lot of fun there in the way Kitty put that, but you were just here. Is this common? Is this the way you've been greeted a lot in your career?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I first read that, I was like, oh yeah, for sure. That takes me back. You get greeted like that, or just the just a moment and they run to the back to fix something. But the "you were just here" always got me because I obviously knew I wasn't just there, or else it wouldn't have, come due on my list. So I'd always just mess back with them and just joke back with them and be like, yeah, I know it feels like it for me too, I feel like I was just here also. And so, if they actually became serious about it, like, no, really, I think you guys just showed up, because that happens a lot too. That they think that maybe a different kind of inspector. A lot of people get third-party inspections or similarly, and so they would think that we were all the same. And so I would just say, I can pull up the last report if you need me to. And then usually they're like, okay, come on back.
As if they had a choice to invite you back.
Yeah,
but
right.
is that big part of the job that's stressful, is knowing that a lot of the people that you see when you start your day aren't necessarily happy to see you? And what percentage of it is it that's not happy to see you versus ones where you're like, they don't care and they're actually happy to see you?
I would say it's definitely a minority of them that are happy to see you. I think over time, it's nice to stay in the same area, see your same facilities, because then they start to know you, and then they are more than willing to have you there and happy to see you as a person. But I would always just know in the back of my head that I'm not who they wanted to be here today, and I am interrupting their daily business. So I just take that into consideration with being respectful and cautious, going in.
How do you handle that over the long term of a career, just from a mental health perspective of the inescapable adversarial nature that you encounter a good number of times?
Yeah, I think it does wear on you a little bit, but I personally didn't let, if they wanted to see me there or not affect me. I think it was more the places I didn't want to go to that affected me more mentally, like long term, knowing that I still had to go back to some of these places, just the environment and the vibes and the like tedious nature of it, like wore on me. But I think them not wanting to see me didn't really affect me just because I tried to build those like relationships with them and just take it as a time to like talk to people and I think create those connections, which might not be as easy for everyone, but I do feel like it was that part didn't affect me as much. There was times where you'd have like a little bit of anxiety going inside, and then that can like build up over time and just be like, man, now I really don't want to go anywhere because I know that. But that didn't really affect me as much. So
Takes a tough person to be an inspector.
yeah,
So
yeah,
Kitty, you're not alone. Apparently, grown adults act this way in
yeah.
departments all around the country. I love the way it feels like that to me too. That's a great disarming answer as a response to that. So very good. Kitty, thank you so much for the question and the rant. I think it's fair to say, so to speak. Your frustration is understood. Next one up. This one, you got the fun ones. The next one is from Hot Manwich. This is not an inspector. As we've learned as the show has grown, we've grown with people who aren't part of the community as well, but really appreciate what y'all do. This one is funny. Hot Manwich. My dad bought this ham back in 1992. It's been in his freezer the entire time. Dear Lord. He refuses to throw it out and says, it's still good. Frozen meat doesn't go bad. What say you? Wow. So, and look at the picture there. Used by November 1993. That ham is older by a lot than all of my children. So what the heck, Melissa? What do you think? Like, I guess technically if it's been in the freezer, it won't kill you, but gross.
Yeah, that's exactly what my first thought was like. I guess technically, if it's been frozen this whole time, it wouldn't kill you. It would be quote unquote like safe to eat. But I guess my first instinct of seeing like a dad that's arguing that like I can eat this meat in 1992, I just imagine that the freezer that it was in was maybe older than 92.
And probably like green, right? Like that 70s green or those yellow.
So I just like my first thought is like, has it technically been frozen this whole time? And so is it really actually safe to eat? That would be my first
That's a
comment.
fair point. Like that ham has seen some stuff.
Yeah. Unless
like all the wars in the Middle East, like this ham's seen a lot. And you're right. The odds that there hasn't been a power outage since 1993 comes to mind, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like I don't know. Even if they had new freezers, like you're telling me that you took that ham out of the old freezer and moved it to the new freezer every time, I just have a feeling it's been shoved in the back of an old freezer this whole time and maybe not actually been held frozen this whole time.
David, you typically love riffing on some of these crazier things with pictures. That is an old ham.
Yeah, that ham can vote. It can drink. That's a pretty old ham. I know a guy that does, wild game stuff, and he says, if it's a little freezer burnt, it won't hurt nothing. You just eat it anyway. I don't know. That's an old ham. I don't think I would touch that.
That ham is old. And something tells me, and Hot Manwich, feel free to give us some follow-up on this, but something tells me that the rest of that freezer probably has interesting contents, and I bet Dad's garage is fascinating. Right? Because if you're keeping a ham that long, there's got to be a lot of other stuff that this person has hung on
That's
to.
that dude's inheritance. That's what that is.
Yeah.
That's why they're pissed.
Fun.
You are bequeathed to this ham. It's a 1993 vintage ham. I wouldn't eat that ham though, right? What would you tell? You would tell this person though to maybe when Dad's sleeping or not around, ditch the ham, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely ditch it, but also like At this point, it's a souvenir from your 90s like experiences. Like maybe just keep it to see how long it lasts, but
It's
don't
true.
eat it.
Or donate it to the Smithsonian. I don't know. I've never seen one exactly like this. That's really, really funny. And I mean, pork too. Like it's dangerous. Like if that thing did thaw in a power outage, you have no idea what's growing in there that's going to come back to life when you cut that thing open.
Odds of getting trichinosis? What do you think?
You know, I wonder what it would be on Polymarket. Probably like 40%. So that one was fun. Hot Manwich, thank you so much for the picture and the laughs. And yeah, throw the ham away. Also, I would love a picture of the other things that Dad might be hoarding, because something just tells me there's more there, that this is just the tip of the iceberg, that ham. All right, the next one we're going to do, this person, we're going to have this person on. I assume a she, but probably shouldn't assume that. That Beach, 7866. She has been on several times. We'll have to have her on, just talk to her and put a face to the screen name here soon. Handling illegal, unpermitted food vendors. This is actually one we're seeing a lot of variations on, like food trucks, issues with those, carts, etc. Today, I got to complain about two. This one's a little different, though, because it's country stores. They have a deli section for which we have no permit for them to operate. And I have to go deal with this tomorrow. And she sounds thrilled, let me add. My boss said that our state regulations and law will not allow us to discard any food or even take temperatures, because the law treats those country store delis as voluntary. They get, in other words, their permit is viewed as permission to regulate, but they don't have the force of law, which I thought was interesting. He said the only thing that they're allowed to do is make them transport the food off the premises and sign an inspection sheet promising to not sell any of said food. And if they disobey, all legal responsibilities fall back onto them, not the health department's problem. I find this regulatory legal precedent so weird. How would this be handled in your jurisdiction? Well, I know you can speak at least for the ones that you've worked in. What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, this also goes back to that like mental health of like going to a place that really doesn't want to see you. I feel like this is when it would affect me, because not only like they don't know you're coming and you're about to shut them down, and so they really don't want to see you. I would say that that is pretty common. Everywhere I've known is that, yeah, you have to get them permitted before you can do anything. So that's really your only goal on your first step there, is to get them permitted and or have a way to shut them down. I think that depends on jurisdiction, but I think like from where I was from, we would have more of an ability to say, not just like have them sign something that says we won't sell anymore. We could actually get to a point where we can post, closure notices for them operating without a permit.
Yeah.
And then once you shut them down, they're a little bit more willing to come get a permit.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
So are you aware of examples where in certain states, certain facilities, the permit's just granted as permission to regulate, as opposed to they are now under the auspices of the department fully? Like that one actually seemed a little bit different to me.
Yeah, I would say I think that's more common than you'd think, because like that was how it was for us too. We wouldn't go do any inspection, or we wouldn't temp anything. We wouldn't touch anything until they have that permit. And then the permit, allows us the legal jurisdiction to enter.
But with the permit though in
into
Colorado, you could actually shut down though. You were saying if they didn't have a permit, it didn't change the tools in the box that you had
Right.
in your jurisdiction, did it?
Right. Yeah. Having the rules require you to have the permit. So if you don't have the permit, we have the ability to shut you down and close you down and say you're not following the rules before we go in to do an inspection.
Interesting. So, Bitch, thank you. That was a great question. It feels weird to say that, but that's the name
Yeah.
you're writing under. So, appreciate the question. Let's go to the next one here. Inspection flow. This one. I feel like there's a theme developing here, which is again the dread, the not being welcome. Inspection flow. That's also from the same person. So she is twofer in this one. That Bitch 7866. Inspection flow and conversing with the operator. How is everyone doing their inspections when it comes to conversing, or I guess chit-chatting with the operator? I like to ask, how's your day going? The weather, and maybe some holidays if they celebrate it. But after that, I am strictly in inspection mode, all business. It's quiet until I actually see a violation to educate the operator on. Love the way that she used the word educate there as opposed to found a violation to mark. I also tell the operator what I see that they're doing good as well. Also probably an underutilized important thing. Is it a bad thing if you are strictly quick with the small talk and the rest is all about the inspection? I've noticed the more you share about yourself and the more you do small talk, they try to manipulate you and make you feel bad for noting violations and taking points. Not only that, they want to distract you from noticing violations. There's a lot there, Melissa, but what do you concur with? What's been your experience? Anything that you don't concur with now? Is that a common thing for them to basically try to suck you in with chit-chat small talk and then try to make you feel bad for them?
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that. I always got caught in the small talk. I get easily distracted through just chatting to the point where I would see the violations, but sometimes I would forget to write it down on my notes because I was too busy trying to do two things at once. So then at the end, I would always be like, man, what else did I see? And sometimes I'd have to walk back through without them to remind myself of things that I had seen because I got caught up in the small talk and I don't know, some people are probably doing it on purpose, but I don't know that everybody does it on purpose to try to distract you. I just got distracted. But I would agree that, yeah, that happens a lot. And to the comment about like, is it a bad thing to just cut the small talk and focus on your violations? I would not say that's a bad thing. I don't think it's offensive. I think I know people that didn't even do the small talk in the first place. It was just straight to business right in the gate. And that's fine. But I always chose to make those relationships and build those connections a little bit more. And then like the small talk would, yes, get bigger into more than just small talk and kind of more of like personal conversations. But I don't think that it was always intent to be manipulative.
It's fair. You have to go back, right? It's not one and you never see them again. So there's probably value in that small talk or the relational aspect of it. What is you never thought you were being intentionally distracted. So it probably has to do with if someone gets distracted when they're carrying on a conversation, maybe not the best idea.
I think it can happen very intentionally, and I think you can sense when they're doing that. I always could sense the people that were kind of the same people that say, you were just here, or how long have you been doing this? Like, you don't seem like you've been doing this for very long. Those kind of people, their intent is to distract you and to make you not see what they're doing. You can get that vibe off of them very quickly, and you just kind of change the way, like, small talk stays very surface level and everything you say is like very calculated to not say something wrong to them.
And not give out too much information about yourself, right? David actually just put a great question in my ear. Do you notice that some operators maybe are chatty because they're nervous and they're just actually kind of doing it to like kind of bridge over their own apprehensions that you're there about to walk through?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you can sense a lot of people's nerves through their like body language too. Like you can see the people that are just like kind of very antsy right behind you. And I always just try to calm them down and just be like, well, we'll work on this together. Like if I find something, we'll talk through it. So you can sense all of that. Like the second you walk in the door, like the person who greets you gives you a good feeling on what you're about to walk into.
Are they kind of like young children and they tell on themselves? How is there a corollary between the nervousness and the kind of posturing at the beginning? And it's because you find out that they knew that you weren't going to love everything you saw?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the places that are like, let me just go check on something real quick. And you're like, okay, I know you're fixing things, but you can't fix the real things. Like you could put a paper towel roll on the paper towel while I'm standing here, go for it. But you can't fix like the cooling and the heating like that quick. So I'll still find it. And yeah, they give it away right away. Usually.
What is, I'm putting you on the spot, but does a story come to mind of like it also occurs to me, I don't know why my mind went here, that they also like there's issues, right? They have trouble with staffing And you probably have at times, people that are high on the job. But strictly speaking, things like that, the department doesn't really have a lot of jurisdiction over, right? As long as they're handling the food properly. What's sort of the craziest song and dance that you've gotten, if one comes to mind, for you had a nervous operator and turns out for very good cause?
I actually would kind of change it from like food. My experience in food, I didn't really have that happen to me in like food inspections. It's more like when I was involved in the body art community. You show up and I mean the entire salon or shop is just full of smoke, and you're like, cool. You're not supposed to be doing this under any kind of influence, but it's like, how are we going to prove that? Like, how can we say this person was high without like them being like, or belligerently drunk? So it's like I didn't personally, but I had an inspector when I was the manager who came across somebody, and we were trying to deal with it too. They were like, they are drunk and it's very obvious, like stumbling, falling over, and like getting tattoos. And so like, but it's not like we carry something to make them do a drug test or a breathalyzer on site. So it's really hard for us to prove, but they're not supposed to. It's in the rules.
Yeah, that's supposed to. But yeah, you're right. The proof thing is right. And you're not police, nor do you want to be, actually.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a question we've gotten a bunch of. I don't think it's formally in your stack of questions today. But with the more active immigration enforcement, that a lot of people are reporting that they get a lot of apprehension when they show up. But maybe I think this is true in most states. The health inspectors are not there to ascertain the citizenship or country of origin status of employees, right? So I don't know if you're hearing from the community that as well, but apparently that's also becoming a thing that drives a lot of apprehension because they are worried that somehow it's going to lead to ICE showing up in their minds.
Yeah, I haven't heard much about that, but I am not surprised by that because a lot of people do loop us in to just enforcement in general. Like a lot of the times we would get complaints in body art that like so and so is a part of the cartel and selling drugs in the back of their thing, and I'm like, well, then call the police. I'm sorry, but I cannot help you. Like there is a lot of that we are assumed to be like one and the same. And we're very different. We have our own set of regulations, and a real good example of that too is like childcare here in Colorado, at least. I know it's different elsewhere, but the state human services had a set of regulations for more along the lines of like, the caregivers all had to be certified, background checked. And then, the amount of kids that each caregiver was allowed. We didn't touch any of that. We had our specific set of regulations. And if got us confused a lot because it was like, well, abuse here or whatever. And I'm like, well, I can't help you with that. So there's a hard line that we do not cross as health inspectors. We only inspect on our regulations, but a lot of people don't realize that.
Yep, that's right. And a lot of people just think the government is one big blob and that you're like having drinks with ICE agents after work. So, yeah, right. But if you're an operator listening, no risk whatsoever, because that's not what the health department's charged with looking at. Great question. And we'll take a quick sort of interlude here. We are, as we talked about last week, in the middle of conference season, lots of traveling coming up. And actually, if you're watching this one as it's released on Tuesday here, I'm currently we'll be at the Coupa Conference in beautiful San Diego, California. That's the HAZMAT Conference for California Environmental Health and Fire Safety. And then I wanted to just plug quickly, April 2nd, going to do, really honored to be invited by Bowling Green University in Bowling Green, Ohio. They're doing a public health symposium and doing a keynote on how AI is impacting the environmental health world specifically, and then we'll do a roundtable question with a bunch of you all that are there. So that will be on April the 2nd at Bowling Green University. We'll put a link to that symposium in the comments here, and look forward to seeing a lot of you all there. If you're within striking distance of Northern Ohio, would love to see you there if you weren't planning to be there already. And then April 14th through the 16th. We'll be speaking in Montana at their Public and Environmental Health Conference. And then you may remember our friend Bob Custard from West Virginia, was with VDH, Virginia Department of Health, for years. We're doing the West Virginia Conference on April 23rd and 24th, and that's exciting. We'll be speaking there, but we're also going to be doing some clips and things for this podcast. So we're taking the show on the road, and we will take it on the road with a full mobile studio to Neha this summer, and also to Georgia at Georgia's Environmental Health Conference in August. So lots of things. We'll keep you abreast on all of that as we get closer to time. But look forward to seeing a lot of you all out in the wild, and we'll have the opportunity for you all to sit down, chat, tell stories, and we'll have it on the platform here for the rest of VH Nation to see. So busy time, lots of plane miles ahead. Melissa, we got to get you out there in the field speaking to these departments and conferences. You know more than me in a lot of cases here. We'll go to our next question here. And this one used phonetically actually did be serious about food safety. Great name, sir. It leaves little to the imagination about what you're interested in. And this one is sort of just a open question that you can speak to here, Melissa. What's the weirdest thing that you've seen in a kitchen that wasn't technically a violation? Be serious about food safety goes on to say, I recently did an AMA on my local subreddit. That's smart, by the way, to engage with your community. And someone asked this question. I had a hard time coming up with a good answer. So I want to hear from you. You being you, Melissa. What is the strangest thing you've seen in a kitchen that wasn't technically a violation?
You know, I really thought through this one too, and my food time was so long ago that I was really trying to wrap my brain through something. And so I probably don't have the most fun, excited answer, but the one thing I thought of is just, it's not like weird, it's not a violation at all, but it was just how like creepy some kitchens and their storage places can be. Just like, I just remember when I thought of like something weird was just like, hidden stairwells that go down to the basement where they're storing all their like dry storage or something. It might not even be that bad, but I'm like, I don't think I want to go down there. Like, I don't think I'm gonna go down there. I'll trust you on that one.
It feels haunted.
Yeah, like there's just places where I was like, I don't really want to be here by myself right now. So it might not be like a weird violation, but a lot of people also have these weird high storage units that you have to like climb a ladder to get up to, and I just like look from afar. I'm like, looks good. I mean, they could be hiding a lot of things. Yeah, that's why I didn't last long in food either, because I wasn't willing to like go into the depths of things for that.
Fair enough. I think actually may have been one of the panels you were on in season 1. Didn't we have somebody sent in a comment about a pocket knife to cut potatoes? And I don't remember if we determined it was a violation or not. I think there were a lot of unknown caveats, but there probably are a lot of examples. This would be a great time to tell the audience that in the comments, whatever platform you're watching or listening on, chime in on this. What is the weirdest thing you've seen in a kitchen that wasn't technically an actual violation? And you've got a crazy story, yeah, please comment it or send it to us, beyond at hscloudsuite.com, beyond at hscloudsuite.com. And if you would like to come on and tell your own story, let us know, and we'll get you booked, and we'll have you on later this season on a future episode. We'll keep rolling here with questions. By the way, be serious about food safety. Thank you for the question, and we'll, of course, reach out to you to let you know we did your question on air, and maybe be serious about food safety. We'll want to come on, and we'll have a conversation with you and find out what part of the world you're working in, and get some of your stories. One other thing I saw that they did is I recently did an AMA on my local subreddit. He said, it's very smart, isn't it? Because to apprehension and people feeling like you're the enemy or you're out to get them, do you feel like things like that, putting yourself out there in new media or other creative ways to engage is a way to help maybe soften the edges of that?
I would say, yeah, like building a community and having like just other people who know what you're going through, because it's a very specific job that a lot of people don't understand, and they don't feel what you feel. So getting other people to just have like a community and knowing, just being able to talk through some of the things you've seen is really helpful. That wasn't really a thing when I was there. So yeah, we just relied on our own coworkers, but a lot of places have some pretty small health departments too, where you don't have coworkers to discuss with every day or like run your crazy stories by. So it's a great place to like build a community and have people that understand what you do.
Yeah, it just really is. Lean in. Like the more exposed you are, actually, the more it kind of warms things up for you. So the next one, we're really on a kind of a theme today, not necessarily intentionally. Next one up is from Calf Killer. Struggling with the people I interact with daily. Calf Killer says, I've been a government food inspector for about 8 months. I've worked in the regulatory industry for about 7 years, but I had zero food safety experience prior to this job. I'm a pretty social person, and I've enjoyed building relationships with my customers in the past. As an inspector, this seems nearly impossible. I hate the nervousness and the deceitfulness that I deal with on a daily basis. The lies are so blatant that it's insulting to think I'd even come close to believing them. I rarely have conversation with people that feels genuine and not forced. It's just exhausting some days. Does it get easier? Overall, I like the work, but this is one aspect of the job that is difficult for me. So, Melissa, it's sort of an extension of what we were talking about just a couple of minutes ago, right? Is that he took it into the angle of deceitfulness and doesn't like to be lied to. What do you have to say to Calf Killer? What he's struggling with in making the transition to the food program?
I would say to the question, like, does it get easier? I would say yes. It does get easier because you start being able to pick up on when somebody is being deceitful and when somebody isn't. And it does take time and it does take experience. And I think they said they were there for about 8 months. And I would say, yeah, those first few months like that can seem really difficult and that you are trying to act like you know what you're doing and you might not know what truly all of what you're learning because you go through a quick training experience, but you really don't learn everything until you've seen it all yourself. And that just takes time. So it takes time to be able to pick up on when somebody's being deceitful and then just truly believing in what your own knowledge is and not feeling like you're lost. So I think it does get easier and then you can start to pick up on those people's lies and then they don't bother you as much anymore because you're like, well, been there, done that, seen this before. And so it doesn't seem like you're dealing with it every single day as you get going.
So part of the reason it gets easier is because you get sort of thicker skin, it sounds like. You get a bit sort of jaded, which is not necessarily a positive word, but it makes things easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that like you get more blunt in the way you approach things, but it doesn't stop you from building the relationships or being nice. Like I would always be nice, but I'd be like, well, this is what I saw. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be mean about it, but you are like, you can't lie that this is out of temperature. Like the thermometer's right. If you want me to check my thermometer, I can check my thermometer. But like you can try to say that it's only been out of temperature for 2 minutes, but how'd it get this high then? So like there's only so much their lies go.
How pervasive is the lying? Because it sounds like for Calf Killer, it's pretty pervasive. And maybe a more charitable word than lie. I mean, lie is a lie, but maybe they're excuses, right? How prevalent is that? And not even just in the food program, but writ large. And I don't know, is it more prevalent in food in your experience than the other programs or about the same?
Yeah, it is pretty prevalent. I would say like almost every inspection, you ask them a question and you're like, that's not the truth. And that a lot of time they just know what they're supposed to say too. Like if they have the right training, then they'll tell you like, oh, it's only been out of temperature for 3 hours. And you're like, okay, well, I have to take your word for that, but let's do what we need to do to get it right then. So a lot of time it does happen often. And I would say it happens in food a lot, but also it happens across all programs, especially the programs I used to when I left the health department, the ones I was focused on, like body art, childcare, schools. It's less prevalent in like schools and childcare, I'd say, because there's not much leeway to lie on. Like you're not like food, you're checking everything. There's a question about everything. You're asking follow-up questions, and a lot of the other programs what you see is what you get. I would say body art. We got a lot of that people just knew the answer. They knew what they were supposed to be saying.
Which
And
program were the lies that just the most awesome in? Was it body art or food?
I think again, like lies might not be the right word, because in food it was always just, like, oh, what'd you do with this food that I just found out of temperature? And it's like a small, like, half truth. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
try, but it's not right. But I think body art is when they could just, they're very artistic and they have an imaginative brain. And sometimes you're like, what? No, like I don't believe that at all. Like some of the things they could come up with, you're like, okay, we'll just move on and come back to that later.
It's like having a 5-year-old in the house. So calf
Yep.
killer, what you're going through is common, but you'll get tougher actually, or more just sort of let it roll off your back. But I will ask you, if you want to follow up with this calf killer, would love to know what some of the lies you're being told are, maybe some of the craziest ones, because it sounds like you're dealing with more than your fair share of it. Godspeed to you as you get through the rest of your first year in the food program. We'll next go over, guess who? That Beach, 7866, yet again. Welcome back. This one, just the way she worded it was kind of gross sounding. Thick layers of white residue on dishes stacked as clean. I'm a newer inspector, and I keep coming across places where I find a lot of dishes stacked clean with the white residue on them. I know that sanitizers have residual from air drying or maybe hard water deposits, but sometimes it's really excessive. Thick layers of this white powdery substance on basically all the dishes and utensils. My area has hard water, but it's only a handful of establishments I've seen with this problem. What is causing this excessive buildup? I thought hard water initially, but she kind of seemed to discount that there. What struck you when you read this particular query about white powdery substance on the dishes?
Yeah, my first thought was like the sanitizer, but she also mentioned they weren't using excess sanitizer. But then another thing could be like the detergent, and the mix with the hard water and the sanitizer. It could just be a mix of all of that. And if you're finding it at multiple places, it might have to do with the chemistry of all of those items and the hard water. Even though they're not finding it at everywhere, some people could have different water filtration systems and whatnot. But I would say it sounds like they need an extra rinse or something. Not to, rinse off your sanitizer, but maybe need an extra cleaning step there.
Yeah, it does almost sound like a malfunctioning dishwasher or something, right? Just not rinsing everything off. Interesting question from a frequent flyer. Thank you for that one so much. We'll go now to our next one here. Kitty 91. Hey, does anyone have any training tips? I feel like this is pervasive no matter what state you're in, that training seems to be something a lot of people grapple with. She goes on to say, I have an inspector who's worked in my office for 2 years. Senior staff rotate taking out new people, and we have to fill out evaluation forms every 2 years. So they're basically rotating their territories every 2 years. I expressed concern of this inspector's ability to see violations, and he still wound up getting released. 2 years later, they are up for standardization. They failed their practice inspections again, and I'm having to retrain them. I'm running into the same issues I ran into with this person from 2 years ago. Any tips on how to get this person to see violations in facilities, because nothing seems to be working? FYI, I don't make any decisions regarding hiring and firing. Heard, wouldn't all of us love to be king or queen of the world for a day and be able to make all the hiring and firing decisions? But training's a really tough spot for a lot of agencies, is it? And I noticed they said their main beef is they're not seeing violations. How do you train for that? And is that a common sort of spot where you do need to kind of rewire your mind because you need to very analytically analyze so much, sometimes in a really crowded, busy space?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that first off, it's like I would understand the struggle, because if you're seeing the same thing 2 years later, you're kind of wondering what has happened over the last 2 years. And it is hard in this industry because you're out on your own. So as a manager or as a lead or as a trainer, um, it's really hard to know what somebody's doing every day because you're not with them every day. You're not seeing their work product every day. So it is difficult to make sure that somebody is trained and then continues to keep their training up because it does happen that you get kind of lazy. And that's a good thing about like standardization every so often is you kind of get back into that, oh yeah, I've been forgetting this or that. For this person, I would say like, getting to the root of the problem, like, are they just like burned out on this? So they just kind of like breeze through inspections and they're just going too fast, like encourage them to slow down. Like doing fast inspections isn't gonna make your job any better. You just have to do more of them. Then like slow down, do a good inspection. And maybe it's just like a knowledge gap thing. Like, one thing that we always implemented was yes, let the person shadow um your seasoned inspectors, but also then a period of time where they are leading inspections. So let them lead, let them, you sit back and say, I'm not going to say a word. I know that might make you nervous. I'm not here to make you nervous, but I'm not going to say anything. Act like I'm not here. And we'll compare notes at the end. And so that can encourage them to be like, well, if she finds something that I don't, then, like that might point something out. So they're then striving to find those things, but also like maybe it's just maybe they don't know what they're supposed to be looking for, even though they've been there for a long time. Like things change, the regs change. So making sure that they have a full understanding of what they're supposed to be looking for and teaching them. There's a lot of, especially in food now, there's a lot of strategic like methods to inspections. So look for this first, then go back and look for that. Stop here in this corner so that you can see things from all angles. Like there's a lot of strategic things that maybe if they're an old timer, maybe they're just used to doing it the old way. Like that's how I was in food. I used to do it the old way. Then we implemented the food code and I was like, whoa, this is very different day-to-day job than I was doing before.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it feels like that this is an area, because you make a really good point. If you can't, it's a lone wolf kind of job day to day. Tech has a role in this, right? Because I know that one of the reports in HS Cloud allows people to actually look at the marking history and any kind of trends or tendencies, because it is true, right? There are people that are floors, walls, and ceilings people, and people do naturally kind of have their thing, don't they? No matter how good an inspector is at times.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, as a manager, those tools and those reports are great because it is like a standard thing too, that you're supposed to be citing a certain amount of percent, depending on the program, depending on what we're looking at. But those reports can help you isolate if somebody's only citing non-criticals versus the people who are citing criticals. And then you can really hone your training in on where it truly needs to be and not just generic.
Yes.
Okay, you need all over training. It can be like, oh, well, I see that you haven't been citing cooling. Like, let's go through cooling. Maybe you don't truly understand how to look for cooling or what to educate them on when you see it.
Yep. And, a shameless plug, but you work with departments all around the country. And, if you haven't looked at the most recent versions and releases of HS Cloud Suite, you really should, because pertaining to this question, there are great dashboards that help you do comparative analysis of inspectors, not in a negative or punitive way, but to just see what's being marked. Are there trends? Are there blinders? And, Kitty, everything Melissa just said there is really good, and, keep at it. And hopefully you're not in the same spot 2 years from now still, too. Sticking with the training theme. Speaking of the frequent flyer, same one from earlier in the episode here, tips on training a new hire. So still the thematic, we kept the training ones together. In January, I will be responsible for training a new hire. I'm a newbie myself, so this question came in over the break, so this has already happened, but I'm a newbie myself who's only been doing this for less than a year. Any tips? I don't want to fail this person and really need to help, and I really need to help them since I'm the only food inspector and lodging health inspector for the moment in my district. So she's very happy to get the extra set of hands, but I maybe didn't feel up to the task of getting that person fully equipped. Anything different you want to add there on training than you've already said?
I think like what we talked about, like training somebody who's been around and like all those things still count. But I remember also being in that I guess spot when I was just an inspector and expected to take out the new person. And I would just say the thing that I did, I mean, it doesn't mean that it's an industry standard, but I would always just say like, okay, I'm just going to do my inspection. And I apologize if I forget to turn around and explain anything that I do, but like, I want you to see me just do it. And like, if you have any questions, ask. And then like the more I would take them out, then the more I would start to be like, okay, this is what I just saw. And something else to remember as the trainer is you're seeing a lot of things that you're not saying out loud. So you have to remember to like turn around and be like, by the way, I saw this. This was a good thing. I just saw it. It met the rules, so I moved on. But they're not even knowing what to look for at all. So you have to kind of point those things out sometimes. Just try to speak everything you're thinking out loud.
So don't assume that something left unsaid is just known automatically by the person you're training. It's actually smart in life in general when you're teaching someone something, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So just, try to say everything. And then at a certain point, like I would do like co-leads where I'd let them like do part of it and I do part of it until they feel more comfortable and you're kind of slowly transitioning over to when they're fully leading and then you can just sit back. That was always my favorite part. I'm like, cool, I just get to sit back and watch now.
So you get to supervise.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that one. I hope that the training went all right, and let us know how it went, and if you have any follow-up questions. We have one more here, and this one is literally, it's from a random series of numbers. At first, I thought it was the person's phone number, but it's one digit short, so I don't think we're putting their phone number on the air. Hopefully not. How to best get into the field. Hi, I'm deeply passionate about food safety. I don't have a chemistry credit from school, nor do I have a bachelor's. I went into school for cybersecurity, dropped out in my junior year. I'm in my 20s, completely lost as far as careers go, and I have been sort of dreaming of getting into food safety somehow. I guess I'm asking for info on various paths I could take. It all seems very intimidating. I want to turn my food safety fixation, interesting choice of words, into something helpful to the general public and sustainable for me. Maybe. Not sure what the maybe's for. Thank you. I think there's a lot of people that are sort of smiling right now as that question was read because there is a need for more people to be passionate, right? And to want to actually get into the regulatory side. It's rare to find a department that has all the staffing that they need. We've talked about that a lot in episode 1, the invisible profession. So first of all, awesome aspiration. But what is the path for someone sitting in that particular set of circumstances that this viewer described? I think there's probably some educational things left, but how would you respond to this person who has a fixation, as they call it, but is intimidated? It's overwhelming. They don't know where to start.
Yeah, I'd agree with you that like it's a really positive thing to hear people like with an interest in it, and not just like an interest in becoming a health inspector, but the food safety industry in general, because I feel like a lot of people, you either love food or you don't. So it's good to know it's definitely needed. The first thing I would say is you don't always have to have a college degree in some kind of science. A lot of places, including the county I came from, had changed the job description, so it's not required anymore. So looking for a place that's not required to start with, but also as somebody who hired, as a manager who went through the hiring process a lot, and helped our food safety manager hire for their team as well. Like the experience that you have doesn't have to be this in the past. We hired a lot of people who worked in a restaurant. Just being in the industry, like being around it, helps you understand a lot of the food safety, and just like, understanding their side of it is helpful for an inspector as well. So we would, if somebody had that experience, they weren't discredited. We would always look for that kind of stuff. And then there's a couple courses. I know NEHA offers some courses. You can sign up. Some of them you might have to pay for, but they might offer some free courses as well. or any other like random online or college courses you can find that kind of are related, to build your resume. And just, I can say as somebody who's hired that if we looked at their resume and it said maybe they didn't have the college degree in the sciences that we need, but they had taken all these courses, it shows the effort of that you want this job. And it shows at least some experience in it. So we always considered those people and hired several of them, even though they had no experience as an inspector before or didn't have the college degree in biology or environmental health. All of those things show that you want the job.
That is great feedback. I know a lot of police departments historically would, they had to coordinate and schedule it, but you could do a ride along with an officer. Mm-hmm. What's the feasibility of that for some health departments? Has it, if a citizen calls up and they say, I'm really interested in it, love what you do, like, are there instances where someone could get some exposure that way, or is that generally frowned upon in your experience?
My experience was that we didn't really do that for liability reasons. But that's not to say that it's not worth asking and seeing if another jurisdiction would. We just didn't, for liability reasons, have like the legal ability to take somebody into somebody else's kitchen, kind of thing that wasn't our employee.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I love that he has a passion for it. Like, clearly you can tell it, calls it a fixation, his word, not ours. So we will reach back out to them when this episode drops and maybe give them some additional resources. But it's a great question because people are needed, right? I mean, I don't think that's changing anytime soon, that departments do not have a huge pipeline in a lot of cases of candidates.
Yeah. Like, we would always get a lot of candidates that I don't think they always necessarily knew what they were applying for. So there would always be a decent amount of candidates for each role, but the people who were actually interested in this, it's very limited. And so that's why I say build your resume to prove that like this is the job you're looking for, and you'll likely get the interview at least.
That is such good life advice in general too, right? It's like, don't just have one resume that just goes out regardless of what you're applying for. Like, take the time to dial it in based on where it's going to go. It's actually something I wish more people would do, because if you target it, you do have a lot better chance of breaking through the noise. That is absolutely for sure. So we'll reach out to the listener, get them some resources. But that was fun, Melissa. Anything else that's been on your mind that you're up to, or that we didn't cover on any of these things that you'd like to opine about?
I don't think so. I do enjoy being here. Thanks for having me. It's always fun. Yeah, I like it, and I'm glad we're reaching out to the industry. I love the EH industry, so I'm happy to help.
Yeah, that's it. You're a kindred spirit, and we'll have you back. Thanks for making time your busy schedule to join us here at the early episodes of the season 2.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. All righty. In closing, thanks so much to Melissa. A couple of just things. Don't forget that we will be at the Public Health Symposium at Bowling Green University doing a keynote and a roundtable discussion on AI and public health, and really looking forward to seeing a bunch of y'all there. I think there's still spots available for those of you that maybe didn't have it on your radar or haven't planned to do that yet. So look forward to seeing a bunch of you on April 2nd and at other conferences and events around the country. And in closing, if you'll indulge me, because we were off for a couple of months between the seasons, one of the things that happened personally in that period of time. Oh, okay. So I'm told the picture's not there. So no worries. I had I hate saying the G word, but granddaughter was born, baby Felicity Garrison. I don't identify as a grandpa, but she's beautiful and thrilled that she's here and healthy. And the inexorable passage of time. Life moves on, but we're very excited. Congratulations to my son Turner and his wife Liesel, and maybe in the future we'll have a picture, but we had an issue on that today. But anyway, wanted to let you know that had happened, and I do not feel older, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. For all of us here at the Beyond Data Management Podcast, powered by HS GovTech, and if you haven't seen the latest versions of HS Cloud Suite and what's being done for over 1,000 agencies around the country, please reach out to folks at HS GovTech and take a peek. Never any pressure, but I think you'll be blown away at some of the tools that exist out there. Have a great week. We will see you next Tuesday, same time, same channel on the platform of your choice, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, etc. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.